All right. Last time we were together, we worked on these edges, and then I took and I wet it, and I used cool water because I still want it to be pliable. If I wanted to make the leather hard, I would use hot water, and that would harden the leather. Now, the Tomahawk fits in. It's a little bit snug right now, but that's to be expected, but it will loosen up a bit with use. Now, let's get this guy out. Once it's got a handle on it, it'll be a lot easier to get in and out of here. Because I can't really get a hold of it to get it out. Here we go. But now it's time to put a finish on this thing. Now, after I did the wet forming to it, I went back through and I re-burnished the edges. First step in putting a finish on it is I'm going to put some pure neat's foot oil on it. As I explained before, the process of wetting and drying removes some of the oils out of the leather. And I use neat's foot because it does come from a cow. It never dries, and it puts the oils back in the leather. Woo! Kind of a strong scent too. I just use a paper towel. Put some neat's foot on it. Oop, 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 oop. Try not to drip too much, because it is oil. It never goes bad. It never dries, but it is excellent for treating leather. You don't want to use great gobs of it. Just a thin coat will do ya. So I just wipe a thin coat over the whole thing, every place I can reach, because you know it will soak in and it will spread across the fibers and feed the fibers in the leather. But basically, that's it. You can see some of the dye coming off. Yeah, the next couple of steps, put a protective finish on this thing, feed the leather, and take off a lot of that excess dye. Don't have to put it on the inside. Like I said, it doesn't take much. And then I'll just buff off the excess. And also, as I said before, neat's foot oil never dries, but it does absorb into the leather. And I need to give this some time. Ooh, really dry up here. Just suck that neat's foot in. I need to let it sit for a day or so to let that neat's foot soak in. And once it's done, once it's soaked in, we can start with our top coat. Okay, that's it. You can see that the neat's foot has darkened it a little bit. I think it looks really cool. But anyway, that's part of the fun. When you're doing leather work, when you start doing the finishing and stuff, see how it affects the final look of the leather? All the way to where you're buffing out the top coat and giving it some shine. Okay, when we come back, it'll be time for some tan coat. Okay, the neat's foot oil has had some time to soak in and is ready to top coat this thing. I'm using my tan coat, and the way I'm going to apply that is with a dauber. Now, I always shake this. In fact, I'm going to shake it a little bit more. I don't know if it's necessary, but I like to shake stuff just to make sure. And what I'll do is just put it on with a dauber. Make sure to get it down into that stitch line there. Now it will soak into the leather a bit, which that's a good thing. Okay, I'll do the front part. And then I'll take a paper towel and wipe off the excess. The idea is to leave a thin protective coating over the surface of the leather. Make sure to get it down into that stitch line. Oh, I missed a spot. There we go. Because the tan coat will help protect the stitching as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the back side of it, and when we come back, we'll start buffing on this thing. Now it only takes a minute or two for it to get dry enough to start buffing. Basically, as it's curing, it'll start out getting a little bit sticky, and you want to leave it alone. But after a little while, it loses the stickiness, but it's still a little bit soft, and that's when you can really get a nice finish out of it. Now, I'm also going to do all the edges and probably re-burnish those just to make sure they look good. There you go, there's the back side of it. It can take just a little bit more drying time. It's still a little bit tacky on the back side. Over here looks okay though. There we go. Oops. And that buffing brings out some of the shine and on that finish. That's one of my favorite parts. When you're buffing out that finish and the shine comes out. And in the back, you got your belt loop there. That is sized basically to fit your typical 1.5 inch double layer belt. There's the front side. I'll keep buffing at it. And like I said, I'm going to go through and do all the edges. And after the top coat dries completely, I'm going to go ahead and punch the hole in the flap so we can flap it over the Tomahawk. Okay, same thing. Dang it, I'm being clumsy. Put some on and wipe it off. And like I said, when I was burnishing the edges on this, gum trag won't last very long. It'll hold the fibers down long enough for you to work on it, but what really does it is when you put a top coat on it. That soaks in, holds down the fibers and protects it, and generally the edges last a long time. If there's like a lot of friction on the edges, eventually they'll wear and get fuzzy. And if you want, you can always go back and retreat them, re-burnish them. But I'm going to go ahead and do the edges on this. Get them all nice and party. Buff this thing. And we'll come back when it's all done. Anyway, there it is right now. See if I can get some reflection on it. There you go. Glint, 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 glint. And we'll see y'all next time.